All right. Today, we're jumping into a super important guide for all the small and medium-sized business leaders out there in Utah. We're talking about hybrid cloud strategy. We're going to cover what it is, why it's a total game changer, and most importantly, how you can actually get it right. So if you feel like you're constantly trying to balance scaling up with staying secure, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. Let's do this. For any growing business in Utah, it feels like this constant tug of war, doesn't it? On one side, you're pushing to innovate, to grow, to scale up fast. But on the other, you have to worry about security and compliance, which are absolutely critical. It's the big challenge, right? How to move fast without breaking things, or worse, getting breached. And it really boils down to these two competing forces. Over here, you've got the need for cost efficiency and innovation. That's the engine of your business, right? But then, over on this side, you've got the non-negotiables, security and compliance. And this is a huge deal in Utah's market, especially for major players in healthcare or finance, where the regulations aren't just suggestions, they're the law. So, how do you possibly serve both masters? Well, that's exactly where the hybrid cloud comes into the picture. And listen, this isn't just another piece of tech jargon. It's a real strategic answer to that very problem. It's all about getting the best of both worlds. So, what is it exactly? Well, a hybrid cloud is basically a model that mixes public cloud services, like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, with your very own private servers that you keep on-premise. The best way to think about it is like this. Your private cloud is your super secure main office, your headquarters, where you lock down all your most sensitive files. The public cloud, that's like a flexible, pay-as-you-go co-working space that you can instantly scale up or down for special projects. And this is where it all just clicks into place, because the benefits line up perfectly with the challenges Utah businesses are facing every day. Take security and compliance. You can keep your sensitive customer data locked down on your private servers while you run your website or other apps on the public cloud. For cost efficiency, you only pay for the public cloud resources you actually use. It's a game changer for your budget. And for scalability and business continuity, well, you can handle those huge traffic spikes without buying a bunch of new hardware. And you've got an amazing disaster recovery plan built right in. Okay, so the benefits are pretty clear, right? But how do you actually build this thing? Now we're getting into the blueprint, and you really want to pay attention here, because a great strategy without a great plan, well, it's just a wish. I love this quote because it's such a powerful warning. Just jumping headfirst into the cloud without a real strategy is honestly a recipe for disaster. You can get tangled up in so much complexity that it actually ends up costing you more money, and it can open up some serious security holes. The point is, you have to plan the work, then work the plan. Period. And here is that 4-step plan. First, you start by assessing everything you have now to figure out what's ready for the cloud. Next, you choose the right partners, vendors like AWS or Azure that actually fit your goals. Then you map it all out with a clear step-by-step timeline for the move itself. And finally, and this is so important, you bake security in from day one with things like strong encryption and access controls. So that's the blueprint. But what does this look like when the rubber meets the road? Let's pivot to the real world here, and we'll start with one of the biggest headaches, compliance, before we look at some pretty incredible success stories. Let's talk compliance, because in 2024, you've got to have this stuff nailed down. First up, data sovereignty. That just means knowing exactly where your data lives physically to comply with local laws. Second, vendor risk management. You have to make sure your cloud provider is just as secure as you are. And of course, you've got to stay on top of all those big regulatory standards, like HIPAA for healthcare or even GDPR if you have customers in Europe. Now, to see the real payoff, check this out. There was a bank that used a hybrid cloud solution from IBM to completely modernize its entire infrastructure. They needed to be way faster and more agile, but without compromising even an ounce of that Fort Knox-level financial security. And the result? A 40% increase in transaction speed. That is a massive, tangible win. It's not just some theoretical benefit on a slide. It is a real competitive advantage they can see and measure every single day. And this kind of success isn't just for finance. We're seeing it pop up everywhere. You've got healthcare providers using Microsoft Azure to handle patient data while staying fully HIPAA compliant. You've got retailers using platforms like Google Anthos to manage inventory across all their stores seamlessly, especially during those crazy holiday rushes. So you've seen the what and the why. Now let's get to the most important part, how you can actually get your own strategy off the ground and move from just a checklist to real concrete action. Think of this as your final pre-flight check. Have you truly assessed your current infrastructure? Are you crystal clear on every single compliance need? Have you vetted your vendors inside and out? Is that migration plan rock solid? And are your security protocols ready to go from the very start? If you can say yes to all of that, you are ready for launch. So what do you do tomorrow morning? Simple. First, create a dedicated task force. Pull people from different departments to lead this thing. Second, invest in training. Get your team the skills they need to manage this new environment. And third, and this is a big one, remember, this is not a set it and forget it deal. You have to constantly monitor your performance and optimize your strategy as you go. So, what's the one big thing to take away from all this? It's this. A structured hybrid cloud strategy isn't just another IT project. It is the key to unlocking a more competitive, a more agile, and a more secure future for your business here in Utah. It's how you finally solve that puzzle of balancing growth with security. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. Take a hard look at your own operations, your big goals, and your biggest challenges. And ask yourself, is your current approach getting you ready for the future, or is it the very thing that's holding you back?